We are celebrating Swami Shivananda's Janmotsava. For the last 11 years, the celebration of Shivananda Janmotsava at the Satyananda Yoga Center has been one of a great dedication of a yajna of the Srimad Bhagavatam to Sri Swami Shivananda, because he was a great devotee. Even in the Shivananda Mangalam, in the second verse itself we are chanting Hare Divya Namam Swayam Kirtayantam Hare Pad Bhaktim Sada Bodhayantam. He was a great devotee of Krishna, of Vishnu, of Hari. He was a person with a huge body. We call it as Akriti. His Akriti was very big. He was a tall and well-built person. But though he looked so huge, he would cry like a child just on the mention of the name Hari. During his post-sannyasa life, Swami Shivananda has officially done 2 tours all over the country. And when he toured like that, it has been noted that whenever he stood on a dais and started singing the name of the Lord, he would become as though possessed by an extraordinary force. He would lose his body consciousness and would sing and jump in ecstasy. And because of his huge structure, and since he was jumping, the stage would give way and break down. Without even realizing that the stage has broken down, he would continue to sing and dance. So it became a very important duty of his secretaries to visit the venue and inspect the stage, because they knew for sure that he would enter into a state of ecstasy beyond the body awareness. Just the mention of the name Hari would let him enter into an exalted state. Such is the tradition that we belong to. And this year, Shivananda Janmotsav, we are celebrating it along with Swami Niranjan. It is a rare and distinguished opportunity in our life to see how the tradition of the illumined masters always considered themselves as disciples and did not have the slightest ego in their system. Today when you see Swami Niranjan, when he speaks, he aligns himself with all of us and says all of us are tamasic. Very interesting to note. Swami Niranjan, who is a Paramahamsa, who was named a Paramahamsa by none other than the Bharati Tirtha of Sringeri Math. Before giving the Paramahamsa Namakaranam, Sri Swami Satyananda had sent Swami Niranjan to Sringeri Mutt for a period of 6 months. And during that period, he was put through a period of observation and very sublime testing was done personally by Mahaswamigal himself at the Sringeri Mutt. And it seems Mahaswamigal used to address Swami Niranjan, refer to him as Adi Shankara himself. He used to say, "Oh, look who is coming. Adi Shankara himself is coming to us." That is the way he used to refer to Swami Niranjan. And I had the good fortune of traveling along with Swami Niranjan to Sringeri Mutt and have a personal darshan, getting introduced to the Sannidhanam. It was a lovely experience and a great memory that I can always invoke to remember the intimate connection that is there between the Guru and the Sishya. A Sishya is the one who adheres to the instructions and the guidelines of the Guru. A Sishya is one who does not have a separate thought process. A Sishya is one who doesn't even have a preference. We are, all of us, we are not Sishyas. We are Chelas. That is what Swami Niranjan says. When he admonishes his disciples who come from all over the world, he says, all of you are my Chelas, you are not my Shishyas. And he says this because we are not capable of following the instructions of our Guru. We have a Guru for our convenience. Whatever is convenient for us, that we will follow. Whatever is inconvenient for us, we are capable of saying that I don't think I need this. This is the problem we all have. And Swami Niranjan recognizes this. But we have a tradition of Shishya, Guru, Parampara, which we can look up to. Our scene is not so bleak, dull. We have a disciple in Swami Niranjan. If you go and be with him in the ashram for a year or two, then you will realize that he is a living example of a Sishya. He has no personal interest in the organizations that are functioning in Ganga Darshan or in Paduka Darshan. Be it the ashram, be it the research foundation, be it the publications, be it the Sannyasa Peeth, be it the Yoga University. Swami Niranjan dedicates every drop of blood of his for ensuring that the highest quality, commitment and seriousness, steadfastness, endurance, consistency is maintained by all the organizations to fulfill the commitment of a disciple to the Guru. Meticulousness is the creed of this tradition. Only if you go and live with Swami Niranjan, at least for a few weeks, you will understand. The accommodation that Swami Niranjan has taken in Ganga Darshan ashram is in a hideout. It's in a very remote place inside the ashram. Ashram sprawls over 20-25 acres of land and property, and there are few AC rooms also available for the sake of some guests who come from very cold parts of the world, very senior devotees of Sri Swamiji. And there is a 7-story building which stands there like a great hotel building. Such sparkling cleanness. But if you go and see the place where Swami Niranjan lives, it is just a small hutment in one corner of the ashram. The Chakravarti of the entire tradition calls his room where he stays as, the name of the room where he stays is called as Sharanagat. Even in naming the place where he stays, Swami Niranjan sets an example to all of us. He calls it as Sharanagat, the one who has surrendered his will into the will of the Guru. And is he really interested in Bihar School of Yoga? Is he really interested in spreading the yogic wisdom? Is he really interested in running all the programs, the research activities that are taking place in the umbrella organizations under Bihar School of Yoga? He is completely disinterested in them. But he does each and every act with devotion. The reason is, all those activities were initiated and started by his Guru, and the adhesha of his Guru was to do certain things in certain ways, and just to fulfill the word, the mandate the Guru has left behind. The Guru is not even there now. There is actually no one who can question what Swami Niranjan does. There is no authority because everyone looks up to him. But he lives like he is the least servant of the organization. And you should go and be there and understand. In your lifetime, if you are able to even think that you would like to go and live there for a short while, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, whatever duration, even to entertain such a thought is a noble thing, and I hope you will have that level of nobility and be able to go there sometime in your life. He lives the life of a disciple. And Swami Niranjan says, I live the life of a disciple because I have seen my Guru live the life of a disciple. Today happens to be the sannyasa birthday of Swami Satyananda Saraswati. For the past 12 years, during this week between 8th to 15th of September, we have symbolically dedicated our efforts through the Shivananda Janmotsava, and we have done lot of activities in the light of the direction shown by our Gurus. Swami Satyananda, during his time itself, started the tradition of chanting Srimad Bhagavatam and telling the stories from Srimad Bhagavatam and conducting satsangs on the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam for devotees and people from all over the world every year between 1st to 8th of September. And we found that people in Chennai, being so busy with whatever they are doing, do not have the mental capacity and willpower and plan in such a way that during this period they can go and live in the ashram. Therefore, we were inspired to create an experience in Chennai for the sake of all our devotees, all our students, so that they need not miss the fervor and the vibration that is generated from Rishikesh, from Ganga Darshan and from Rikhya Peeth. Even though physically we are not there, we can still be inspired. And for this reason, we also started the Srimad Bhagavatam in Chennai. And last year, our celebration of Shivananda Janmotsav took a great turn, where we had the 3 Havans by the yoginis from Tiruvingoi Malai. In fact, they are also disciples of Swami Shivananda's tradition only, but they are Sri Vidya Upasakas. Therefore, we invited them. They go to both Ganga Darshan Ashram and to Rikhya Peeth Ashram and perform several yajnas there. Sri Vidya Homam, they perform there regularly on the day of Akshaya Tritiya. They perform the Mahamrityunjaya Yajna during the Samadhi Day celebrations of Sri Swami Satyananda. They go to Munger Ashram and perform several yajnas. We had met them there, and last year when we visited their ashram in Tiruvingoi Malai, I had the good fortune of meeting Mataji, and I pleaded with her if she could conduct yajnas for 3 days in Chennai at our center, and last year you were a witness to what happened. It was a very auspicious and inspiring moment for all of us. It started on 4th. We had the Lalita Yajna, then we had Mahamrityunjaya Yajna, and on the last day we had Sri Vidya Yajna. And our Sankalpa was peace, plenty and prosperity for everyone. This inspiration we got from, again, Sri Swami Satyananda Saraswati days. If you look at the life of Sri Swamiji, after he met his Guru, for 12 years, he lived with his Guru without asking for any clarification as to why Guru is asking him to do anything. He did not need any explanation for doing anything that he was instructed to do. During the entire period that he stayed with his Guru for 12 years, in the words of Swami Shivananda about Sri Swamiji, about his own disciple, Swami Shivananda says, he works very hard like a bull. He does the job of 4. Satyam, that's how he calls Sri Swamiji. Satyam is an epitome of the Nachiketas element. Such a level of vairagya is rare to find in human beings. Though he does the job of 4 people, he has never complained ever in his life. These are the words of the Guru about the disciple. Work would start at 3 a.m. and work would end at midnight, maybe past midnight. The seva that Swami Satyananda did, he says in his own words, if you go to Satyam Yoga Prasad website, there are 2 videos where Sri Swamiji himself talks about his life in Rishikesh along with Swami Shivananda. We have shared the links with you. The website is available. You can just search for satyamyogaprasad.net. If you still haven't looked into it, at least today remember it. Note it down. It is satyamyogaprasad.net. There are more than 200 videos, audio files, which are guided practices. I think that's the hook, because all of you are very interested in doing great practices. It is like, having a vessel in which you want to pour the nectar, but you're not ready to clean your own vessel. Whereas Sri Swamiji, be it Sri Swamiji or be it Swami Niranjan or be it Swami Satyasangananda, Satsangi, they have become the greatest patram, the vessel, and the Guru lives in them. Their life is an example. What happens to someone when they allow the influence of the Guru to have effect upon themselves. It is a voluntary exposure to the influence of the Guru. And if you look at the life of Sri Swami Satyananda, after he finished his period of stay and seva to his Guru, when he was about to finish it, when he asked his Guru, what should I do now when I go out? To give you a small background of what Sri Swami Satyananda was, for those of you who are new to this tradition, who have been coming to classes only for the past 2 years or 1 year, who have not heard about Sri Swami Satyananda, he belonged to a royal family of Kshatriyas, and his own share of land and cattle was hundreds of acres of land and more than 1,000 cows on the foothill of the Himalayas. He was born in a place called Almora. If you go to Badrinath or Kedarnath, from Rishikesh, as you progress and move towards Badri, on the way you will cross Almora. It's a semi-mountainous plain. That is the terrain. It is at the foothill of the Himalayas. And he was born in a very rich family. And he had given up everything. His entire share of inheritance, he had just cast it off like a piece of dirt and walked in search of truth. It is not that, he was begging for food, that he wanted the patronage of somebody. He was capable of living a luxurious life just by inheritance. And during his 20 years of life, he had gained knowledge of so many things. It is completely ununderstandable as to how within 20 years time Sri Swami Satyananda could gain so much knowledge. He had knowledge of dance. He was a professional dancer. He had learnt Kathak and he could perform Kathak. He used to perform Kathak and get paid for it at the age of 20. To that extent he was an expert. He was a great singer. He could compose songs in Hindi, in Sanskrit. He also knew French, Spanish, German. He is a complete surprise to the human mind. And being such an astute, scholarly individual, he did not have the slightest ego when he left his Guru's ashram. So he had given up all of those comforts, facilities, name, power, and he worked like a bull, like a donkey that was pulling huge loads in the ashram for 12 years. He used to build buildings because in the 1930s, when he had gone there was practically nothing in the ashram. It was just a hutment that was available. They used to live along with scorpions, snakes and wild animals in Rishikesh. Today you go to Rishikesh, you will find accommodation that is available in a 3-star hotel overlooking the Ganga, and you will like to lie down on a couch and see the Ganga flowing. That's not the kind of life that Sri Swamiji or Swami Shivananda had. They had a very tough life. Very tough life. So, Sri Swami Satyananda was responsible for the printing press, for the kitchen. He was responsible for watchman duty, what not. I mean, if you were so rich, if you were so affluent, and then you go and live in some place, and they tell you sit at the gate and ensure that monkeys don't come inside the ashram, how would you react? You will think that you are being used. But Sri Swamiji was totally surrendered. He did whatever he was asked to do. And more is coming now. He was basically a Advaita Vedantin. If you already know about it, fine. Otherwise, later during the course, I will talk about it. And Advaita Vedantin follows the teachings of Shankara, who assumes a position that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not these senses, I am not this intellect, I am not this person. And Sri Swami Satyananda taught and lived the life of a Advaita Vedantin. Even at the age of 6, he recalls that at the age of 6 he had an experience of what can be described as a samadhi, a total absorption of the individual identity into something that is as vast and great as this whole universe and beyond, at the age of 6. And he was a Advaita Vedantin who followed the philosophy that I am not this body. And he had good training in the Tantra Shastra. He was trained by some of the greatest mystics in the tradition of Tantra Shastra. He was probably one of the most well-trained person in Tantra Shastra. A lot of people are very keen and interested in Tantra Shastra. They may not be actually interested in the Shastra, but they are interested in the word Tantra because it's very catchy. It conveys some meaning because it has become very popular all over the world. And Sri Swami Satyananda, before he came to his Guru, at the age of 20, he was a master of Tantra. And during his stay with his Guru, he just locked these two things that he knew and he put them in the attic. And he lived as if he knew nothing. This patrata, this emptiness with which he lived his life is what we need to emulate in our life. Because we knew 20 asanas, we think we know yoga. Because we know 5 mantras, we think we know Shastram. Because we can sit and sleep and become unconscious, we think that we know meditation. It is absolute foolishness, ridiculous to think like that. And Swami Satyananda or Swami Niranjan do not have this blemish in them. Though they are a Paramahamsa, they thought and lived as if they are a child. This childlikeness. Even Jesus Christ, in one of his aphorisms, he says, my Father's heaven, the doors of my Father's heaven are open to those who are like children and like beggars. You know, a beggar does not say, oh, today can you give me some paneer paratha? No. Whatever is given is received. That attitude, a non-preferential recipient's attitude, that's what Christ is talking about. And that guna of being a open, transparent recipient, in spite of having everything. He had riches, he had power, he could exercise his power over the entire region of Almora. And on top of that, he was introduced to the Vedas, the scriptures, Tantra, Vedanta, because of the very location in which he lived. sadhus and sannyasins and astikas, yatris, scholars who went in the direction of the Himalayas. They all used to stay. Even now, if you go across Almora, you can just walk into. If you are a yatri, they will provide you with food. And Sri Swamiji, as a child, he was known as Dharmender. Though that name went away on the same day, today, and it became Satyam. As a child, he was an epitome of Dharma. And he had logged everything, all his knowledge, all his wisdom, all his experience, all his riches, everything he locked. Just kept it in an attic, in one corner of his whole memory system. And he lived with a transparent mind, which he subjected voluntarily to the influence of his Guru. This is the most important quality that a sadhaka has to develop. Not the ability to do a Shirsasana for 20 minutes. It can be total blasphemy just because you are able to do a locust posture, you are a yogi. No. You have to be a disciple because it is in the Guru Sishya Parampara that the password, the key to open your inner personality lies. Otherwise, you will be an empty box with few stones in it. You can make a lot of noise. And if it gets opened, the content will be just thrown and cast away. So in front of a great Guru like Swami Shivananda, Sri Swamiji became like a humble dog. He became like a humble dog, that's all. The dog just carries out the instruction that is given by its master. I do not know whether any of us have that caliber in us or even have a desire to develop a caliber like that. Because as Swami Niranjan says, we are all chelas. I hope we will have a desire to think about what is discipleship and not continue to be in the comfort of being a chela. Chela means the one who says it is okay. Guru will say like that, but it is okay. I will do according to my convenience. My Acharya may say something, that's fine. He'll keep saying. Next week also he'll say, I have signed up for 52 weeks. So he'll keep saying something. Let me see. देखेंगे क्या होता है. चलता है जो मानता है वही चेला है. This is what Swami Niranjan says. चलता है, चलेगा. It's okay. But Swami Satyananda was not like that. He was a Shishya. He realized that he met his Guru. Just the moment he saw Swami Shivananda, he says, the moment I saw Swami Shivananda, something very profound happened to me. The itchy, searching mind just stopped. It became still like the Manas Sarovar. There is nothing to ask. And Swami Satyananda explained to Swami Shivananda ji, I have done this kind of sadhana and this is what has happened to me. He had explained to him that he is able to go up to the point of total blankness. But he says to Swamiji, Swami Shivananda ji, that beyond that what is there I am unable to progress. And then Swami Shivananda says, okay, very good. All you have to do is live with me and work hard. Do karma yoga. Purify yourself. Do you know what it means? It means that tamas was blocking the mind, the perception of Sri Swami Satyananda when he met his Guru. And tamas had to be cleaned through karma yoga for 12 years, for 16 to 18 hours every day, not 1 hour per week, not 2 hours per month. You come in some program, just walk around, stand here and there, smile at people. No. You have to remove the soiled, used plates. எச்ச தட்டு எடுக்கணும், அலம்பணும், உடம்பே நாரும். Thousands of people used to come, defecate and go. You had to remove the fecal matter in buckets and take it far away and dig a big pit, put it there and close it. You can't imagine the kind of lepers used to come, because Swami Shivananda was a doctor, and since he was treating people free of cost in the Shivananda dispensary, lepers used to come. And it was very common duty for Swami Satyananda. He says, since I had knowledge of medical practices, my Guru used to call me whenever there was a leper oozing with blood and pus in the body. He used to call me and say, Satyam, clean this person, offer food to him. Then Sri Swamiji used to take the person, give that person a bath, clean the wounds, remove the pus, apply medicine on each and every sore, and remove the hair, cut the hair, do shaving to that individual, bandage each and every part that was oozing with pus, which was cleaned, and then had to feed food to that person. After that, after many hours of working with an individual, then only he will become aware that he is so and so. Till that moment, he was absorbed in seva. Like this, he lived for 12 years, 16 to 18 hours of seva every day, and 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Having lived like that, having done so much of seva, his heart was filled with the quality of selflessness. His mind was not located upon his body. Such is the tradition of the discipleship that we have in front of us to emulate. And after doing work for 12 years like this, when he goes to, I'll come back to where we started, when he goes to Swami Shivananda just before leaving, and he asks Swami Shivananda, Gurudev, what should I do when I go out? Are you having any instructions for me? And Swami Shivananda says to him, take yoga from door to door, from shore to shore. And mind you, Swami Satyananda did not know yoga till then. Up to the age of 40, 32, he did not know yoga because he was not interested in yoga. It's a satire that he has created the organization which is the authority on yoga. Do you know why he created such an organization? Is it because he thought that he knew yoga? Is it because he thought that he was a yogi? Is it because he thought that he had to change the world? Is it because he thought that he was the greatest source of knowledge on this subject matter? No. He was not at all interested in yoga. That is the interesting part. Swami Satyananda was not at all interested in yoga because he had the experience of samadhi even before he learnt anything in yoga. Since he had no knowledge of yoga, he told to his guru, on the moment when he is going to leave, his guru says, take yoga from door to door, shore to shore. No, gurus have a dirgha darshanam. They are capable of seeing beyond what is apparent. So when Swami Shivananda said this, he expressed to Swami Shivananda, Gurudev, I do not know yoga. This is happening in 1956 or 55, 1956 if I am right. It's happening in 1956. He says, I do not know about yoga. And his guru says, oh, okay, you come with me. And he takes Swami Satyananda into his accommodation, which is called as Anand Kutir. You go to Rishikesh, there is a road, and to the right side you will see Ganga, and to your left side there will be a hill. That is where the Divine Life Society is. The Divine Life Society has the property below the road also, near Ganga, and there is a place where Swami Shivananda used to live all his life, which is named as Anand Kutir. And he took Swami Satyananda into Anand Kutir. They spent 5 minutes together. In 5 minutes, Swami Satyananda was revealed all the secrets of yoga, not verbally, not like how I teach for 1 year to all of you, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. In 5 minutes time, all the knowledge of yoga that was necessary for posterity was transmitted. Today we use share it, we use this, that, we even banned it. I do not know what technology Swami Shivananda used, because it is not 1 TB, 2 TB. It's millions of TB, tetrabytes. Millions and millions, because so much work happened after that. Within 5 minutes, he was taught everything, not verbally, not physically. It was just transmitted like knowledge of this whole creation to Brahmaji, just by Sankalpa. Otherwise, how can you explain in 5 minutes you can learn this whole thing? And when Sri Swamiji came out, he lived as a Parivrajaka. A Parivrajaka is a person who doesn't stay in one place for more than 3 days. He lived as a Parivrajaka, he travelled all over the country, he studied people, understood their problem, their condition, and then in 1963 he had a vision. You have to see the videos, the 2 videos in which Sri Swamiji himself explains how he knew that Swami Shivananda had left his body in 1963 July. He was sitting and meditating in Bihar, where Paduka Darshan is located today, where the Sannyasa Peeth is operating from, and he was meditating and he had a vision. that Swami Shivananda was sitting on a boat and he was crossing a river. It is not the river of water. He realized that Swami Shivananda was crossing Vaitarini. He had left behind the body and had taken Samadhi. And it got confirmed the same day when he received a call from Divine Life Society that his Guru had left his body. He got the confirmation later on the same day, and he knew that his Guru had gone. And therefore, he started his mission in that place. We will look for a perfect location where everybody can easily come. If we want to start a yoga school, we will go to the city and we will see which is the biggest road, whether parking facility is there, whether bus facility is there, whether power supply will come or go. We will check whether all conveniences are there for starting a yoga center. But Sri Swamiji started his yoga school in the most obscure village. Even now, if you go through the roads of Bihar, you will think as though you have gone into the 1900s of India, pre-independent time. Except for Coca-Cola, there is nothing new about Bihar. Kurkures and Coca-Colas are there in the shops. Otherwise, it looks so primitive and ancient. Imagine in 1963 how it would have been. Even Coca-Cola was not there. Kurkure was also not there. Scanty people here and there. You can see one head after 5 kilometers. And he starts his school, Bihar School of Yoga there. How much he should have had in himself. And then he became the Chakravarti of the yoga world. He says it himself. I am a descendant of Sri Rama. That is the Kula in which Swami Satyananda was born. I told you he is a Kshatriya. He was born in the Surya Vamsha, in Raghu Kula. He is a descendant of Rama. And rest of it you can read in the books of Bihar School of Yoga. The history of Bihar School of Yoga I don't want to talk about. It has been published so well. The point to be taken is the discipleship that we need to focus upon and learn from our gurus who live like they are disciples as long as they live. The life of Swami Satya Sangananda, the life of Swami Niranjanananda, the life of Sri Swami Satyananda is a life of discipleship and not gurudom. They lived and died as a disciple. And Swami Niranjan and Swami Satsangi lives as a disciple. Last time when I met Swami Satsangi, she says that she had no interest in doing any activity in Rikyapit. But she dedicated her entire life as a sannyasin just to fulfill the mandate to every word and letter as given by Swami Satyananda. And the life that Swami Niranjan lives today, he teaches Pavan Muktasan part 1. He teaches Jalaneti. He teaches the basics of the basics to people who are coming there. Being a Paramahamsa, I am wanting to say that I don't want to teach the basic course anymore. Where is Swami Niranjan and where am I? But Swami Niranjan doesn't have preference. That is why I am Chela and he is a disciple. He is a Shishya. We need to look at the quality of discipleship and we need to start aspiring to develop some quality, if not all. Even if one ray of that quality comes in us, I think we will become transformed to great people. We will become very useful. We will become a positive influence to the family in which we are living. Instead of being a whole, depleting the resources of the family, we will become at least a good patram if we have even one ray of that quality that our gurus have and had. And the essence of sadhana is only that, to make your patram a valuable one. So I congratulate all of you for coming to this point where I can talk to you about such a great tradition. And I congratulate myself for being able to dedicate time and effort in this cause. So we will now come back to our practice program for the day. But before that, I would like to give you a small 10-minute break. So at the end of the break, you will be guided through a sequence of practices. So I express my happiness and delight that during Shivananda Janmotsav, for more than 90 minutes, we have been involved in the remembrance of our Gurus. And I sincerely pray to my Guru and to my Guru Parampara that you will remain inspired, connected, dedicated to the cause of sadhana, and you will discover a nourishing and meaningful relationship with your Guru. So after 10 minutes, we will meet again. You can take a bio break for now.